The voice's ability to connect pitches to each other is unparalleled in mechanical instruments. It is time to practice connecting two of your glorious notes. Remember that singing one note at a time is an exercise you should do always as a singer. You are never too advanced to do that, and you're also never too advanced to do your portamento exercises. I am often asked if legato and portamento are the same thing. They are not. Legato is a musical term meaning smoothly bound together without breaks between the notes. Portamento is how a singer achieves this. A lot of confusion stems from the inability to make this distinction. Not only singers talk to singers. Very often conductors, for example, are pianists or violinists and not singers. The confusion stems from the fact that legato is achieved or feigned on different instruments in different ways. Any instrument that has a key or a fingering by nature has separate notes. So legato in the true sense of the word is in fact not possible. We can play them in a way that make them match, so we create the effect of legato. The voice is the original and supreme instrument. The supreme part is my opinion, but the original part is a fact. The voice's ability to connect pitches to each other is unparalleled in mechanical instruments. It is worth thinking about this in some detail. Many singers start their musical lives as instrumentalists and do not spend enough time thinking about how achieving legato with their voices differs from achieving it on instruments they played as kids and might still play. I recently taught a workshop titled "The Voice is Not a Piano" to shine a light on these differences. Pianists have 10 fingers to achieve legato. They can and do play the next note at the same time, creating a little overlap. If they play Chopin's First Ballade, for example, of course, we are imagining this line legato, but Chopin even writes along C, maintain this, because it creates this bed of sound in which the legato is perceived. So even though the tune is, most often hear those notes all together. This overlap in sound creates the effect of legato. They can also, of course, use the sustaining pedal that allows many notes to sound together, creating this harmonic bed in which we hear the melodic line. Both of these techniques of achieving legato are clearly completely impossible in the human voice. You can only sing one note at a time, and you don't have a sustaining pedal. Let's think about string players. They can put down a second finger on the fingerboard before picking up the first one. But the violinist has another option. He can slide one finger on one string. This results in a portamento if the bow stays connected to the string. We hear not only the pitches the violinist is connecting, but also the pitches in between. We know that string players used to play with more portamento than they typically do in modern times. Their own exercise books and the survival of written-in fingerings illustrate how often they favored the less obvious choice in order to achieve the truly smoothly bound together notes by sliding the finger on the string. So we don't have fingers and pedals like pianists and violinists. What are we to do? Since breath is how we make sound, our goal clearly must be not to interrupt that breath when we move from pitch to pitch. Remember our mantra, one breath impulse per phrase. You are already practicing that in its simplest form when you practice your long notes. Singing one note at a time is where you find that one breath impulse. Your goal is now to stay true to that mantra while you change pitch. If we change the length of our vocal folds while keeping our breath engaged, we create what the Italians call portamento. It is just how the voice works. While portamento is not the goal, legato is. Portamento is the result of truly consistent breath between the pitches. Between pitch A and B exists an infinite amount of pitches. Learning to move through these smoothly is how you build your legato skill.
We're going to do an exercise today that is one of the first exercises I ever do with a student, because it will set us up for getting a really simple and connected and legato and breath-driven sound. Do, re, mi, re, do. That's all we're doing. Those 3 notes to start out, those 3 notes. So I will take it down here because this is the octave I'll sing them in. And what we're gonna be focusing on as we do it is we're gonna just do it on a regular old neutral vowel. We'll start with ah. And our focus is to set up all of our sound production, our whole instrument, in the most efficient way we can. And we want to make sure that our breath and our diaphragm are the initiator of the pitch change. One more. So you'll notice there are 2 qualities that are consistent as I practice these exercises. And those are that there is a consistent vibrato that goes through there, and that there's consistent legato that goes through there. So why vibrato? The reason is not because we have to sing with vibrato all the time or else. That's not the point. The point is that when we are able to sing with vibrato, when we release vibrato, that means that we're set up in a way, and that vibrato is a symptom of a well-poised instrument and a freely released instrument that will, and so it vibrates. It has a vibrancy to it. Then along with that is the legato. The legato is the connection between each of the notes. We're connecting them all the way up and down. What we want to avoid is a sort of immediate, almost like it's a percussion instrument working up, ah. We want to avoid that, even though it feels very accurate. It's not good for the voice, and in the long term, it's going to really weigh us down.
How about we try what I call flossing? Those are singing the small intervals, semitones and tones, ascending and descending. Why do I call it flossing? Some people say it's because it feels, this is the tiny little motion you have to do when you floss. But mostly, originally, I started calling it flossing because you should do it every day. You know, your dentist tells you to floss every day. So, we are going to floss. Do you want to sing semitones first or tones first?
No, let's do semitones.
Semitones.
Yeah.
You want to pick a pitch?
No.
Okay, I'll pick one for you.
Yeah.
So she's going to try and keep that spin truly consistent. Very good. And the same way as we do with our onsets, you can do that all the way through your voice. You want to do the same pitch, a tone down. Very often when people do this exercise, they will sing a tone on top and a semitone on the bottom. So at the same time, this exercise is good ear training for us. She's going to sing B flat, C, B flat, A flat, B flat. And when you truly sing it in legato, you're going to feel that a tone is actually a pretty big interval if you try to sing it legato. Very good. Do you want to do one of those in chest?
Sure.
How do we combine the essentials of Italian diction with legato? How do we move from one pitch to the next
while incorporating our diction. So we'll look at this in 4 categories. The first of which is traveling only on a vowel. So if there's no consonant, you just keep singing the vowel. For example, in Caro mio ben, senza di te la. So between B flat and E flat and E flat and A flat, te la. I'm just traveling on the vowel. Easy as that. Another example might be Già il sole del Gange. Già il sole. So we have so. 7 notes on one vowel. So if I were to slow that down, già il sole, you can hear how I move between the pitches on the vowel. Già il sole. Or in the song from the 24, quella fiamma che m'accende, che ma. We have 3 notes on an A vowel, cende, and 2 on an E vowel. So anytime we have syllables with more than 1 note, melismatic vocal writing, which is typical of the Italian style, we want to make sure that that vowel goes without break between the pitches, so in the intervals as well. If we have a single consonant, whether it's voiced or unvoiced, most of the time what we're going to do is sing the vowel until we reach the new pitch, then sing the consonant. For example, caro mio ben. So we want to get from E flat to D on A, then sing the R. I'll do it one more time. Caro, caro. And my portamento can be slower or faster. A slow portamento would be caro mio, which might seem a little droopy. But I can make my portamento faster, still travel, caro mio ben. And you hear how I'm taking the O vowel down, both between ka and ro. I take the A vowel down, caro, and then ro mio, mio ben, mio ben. It's like I point that vowel slightly down right before the next note. Caro mio ben, to make sure that my legato is correct. Credi, credi, credi mi almen. So here, I'm pointing down with portamento from C to B flat. Credi mi almen. Again, I can make that portamento as audible or inaudible as I want to.